Guys, welcome to another episode of the Dr. Akash Show. I'm Dr. Akash, and thank you for being here. So, today I want to talk to you about something very, very personal for all of us. I think all of us have probably experienced this at some point. It can be absolutely crippling, it can be life altering if not dealt with swiftly and aggressively. And that topic is anxiety. Now, anxiety is an incredibly complex topic. There's lots of research done on the topic, really kind of many different schools of thought on how to treat anxiety, how to diagnose anxiety. But what we're going to focus on, because we're focused on optimizing you as a man, we're going to focus on rituals and routines when it comes to anxiety. We're going to speak a little bit about resilience and how to maintain resilience in the face of anxiety and being robust. Most importantly, what I want to address in this video today is how sometimes anxiety is not anxiety at all. It's a term that's used so frequently and frankly overused that maybe it's something that's overdiagnosed, and maybe it's more of a kind of a default diagnosis when a clinician cannot really figure out what else is going on, doesn't have the time to deal with it, doesn't really want to deal with it, whatever the case may be, right? At the end of the day, the way that modern medicine is created, it's much easier for a doctor to write a prescription, get you in and out of the office, than it is to sit down and help you develop the systems that you may need, the habits that you can use, the rituals and the routines that you can apply to help you work through this feeling that you may be classifying or naming anxiety. So anxiety, let's get into it. Anxiety really is when we think about things in the future that we cannot control today, right? So think about the things that you may get anxious about. Like if I'm sitting at my desk and I start thinking about maybe something I need to do next week, right? But I can't necessarily do anything about that today just because of the state of whatever the issue might be. You can sit there and you can ruminate about the issue. When you begin to ruminate about the issue, it's very easy, if you're not observant of your thoughts, if you're not very intentional with your focus, to allow yourself to kind of go down the rabbit hole. And the next thing you know, you've spent weeks, you've spent minutes, hours, days, weeks, whatever the case may be, just wasting time in this space where you're thinking about something you can't control. And because you can't control it, you can't take action. And if you can't take action, you can't do anything. And so all you end up doing is getting stuck in this cycle over and over and over, right? Major problems can occur with anxiety. I can tell you from personal experience, I absolutely have dealt with anxiety. And before I really understood what was going on, I would spend weeks and days sometimes just stuck in this cycle, overthinking, right? And the problem with that, in addition to the obvious issue of all your time just getting, and your mental energy just getting sucked away, is you lose other things in your life. Maybe you lose the ability to connect with other human beings. Maybe you miss a workout. You certainly aren't sleeping the way you should be if you're overthinking because you're anxious about something. And this time lost, not only does it not come back, but it's taking you in a direction that is so far off course from what you want to do or what you're trying to accomplish in your life. You're making your job 10 times more difficult to veer back on course, right? That's my personal experience. That's the experience from a lot of clients that I've worked with as well. But here's the beauty of it, guys. There are absolutely methods that we can implement starting today. There are absolutely rituals that we can start using, routines, habits, all these things you can start implementing immediately after this video that are free, inexpensive, super practical, super mobile, things you can do right away, which we'll break down in a little bit. Before we do that, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the problems when it comes to anxiety, because I want you to understand how incredibly important this topic is. And I don't want you to blow this over thinking, yeah, whatever, I have my ways of dealing with anxiety, I'm fine. Check this out, okay? If you're anxious and you're a father like I am, don't you think that nervous, anxious energy is coming out in a way that your kids can feel it? For those of you who are fathers or mothers or pet owners, tell me I'm not wrong, right? Don't our kids and our pets know exactly how we feel, regardless of what kind of facade we try to put up to the world and to the kids? They do, right? They know exactly what's actually going on. They know if dad is stressed. They know if dad is irritable or anxious or whatever the case may be, right? So we really have to understand something about anxiety. It's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about you. If you're dealing with anxiety, it's about the people around you and how you affect those people. because life is energy. Life is radiance, right? Your energy, your vibe that you're putting out is picked up by other people. This is why 80% of communication is non-verbal, right? Do you ever meet somebody, walk in a room, and you just kind of feel like, yeah, this is my guy, this is my person. I don't know why, but we just click, right? Or you feel like, I don't know, we have all these things in common, but I'm just not vibing with this person. I'm not really feeling I'm not picking up what they're putting down. This is not my guy. I don't know what's going on here, but I really don't want to hang out with this person, right? The reason is because of things that we're talking about, because of the energy that you're putting out in the world. But what kind of energy are you putting out if you're anxious? I think you already know the answer to that. So you can affect the people around you, specifically family, very importantly, young children or children of any age. You can affect your significant other. Your wife will definitely pick up on this as well. May trigger certain energies and certain feelings in her that she's not necessarily aware of either. And the next thing you know, her anxiety is coming out because your anxiety is coming out. And you're just in this anxious kind of soup, which is terrible for everybody, right? It can cause you to miss important deadlines because if you have to get a certain project done on time and you're stuck in an anxious loop of some sort, you may blow it off. You may completely forget. You may start telling yourself it's not that important. You may start convincing yourself you don't really want that thing anyway when you do, when deep inside you know you do. It can alter the course of your life. If you lose days, weeks, months thinking about anxiety, you got to capture that time back just to get back on course to where you were, followed by the additional work you're going to need to put in to continue down your path. So anxiety is a life-altering feeling or emotion. It's a life-altering factor. Not your life, not just your life, the people around you, loved ones, people you work with, everything. It's a time suck. It's just putting out bad vibes, bad energy. And most importantly, it doesn't do anything for you. You being anxious about a topic doesn't allow you to solve that issue. The more anxious you are doesn't mean the more likely you are to figure out a solution. It's the opposite. The less anxious you can be about a topic and the more you can be restrained and calm and focused and smooth, the more likely you are to problem solve, correct the issue, and move on. So problems all around with anxiety. Frankly, nothing positive comes out of it. I mean, I challenge you, leave it in the comments. I challenge you to tell me one thing that comes out of anxiety that's positive, that you can't control, right? But here's the beauty of anxiety. There are things that we can do to minimize anxiety. Now, I'm going to get right into it, guys, about what you can do when you begin to feel anxious, okay? The first thing that I'm going to talk about, and this is kind of what I always talk about, is physical activity. If you start to notice yourself feeling anxious about a topic, about something at work, about a presentation you have to give, about a rough conversation you're going to have with somebody close to you, maybe you got some bad news professionally or personally, or whatever the case may be, there is nothing more powerful and more productive for you to consider doing than being physically active as quickly as possible. Now, this doesn't mean you got to go into the gym and squat 1,000 pounds. This means, hey, I just got hit with this crazy news. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to call. I'm going to either just sit here and ruminate and just drive myself crazy, or I'm going to drop to the floor of wherever I'm at right now and do 5 push-ups. Or I'm going to go outside and just take a walk. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to leave my phone behind, and I'm going to just let these anxious thoughts come out of me, release them out into nature, and then let myself kind of regroup, right? There's nothing more powerful than that. Physical activity is going to be your gateway for lots of these undesired emotions, anxiety being one of them, right? So at the end of the day, when you start to feel these kinds of feelings, we need to be able to train you. You need to be able to train yourself to immediately revert to some sort of physical activity that's appropriate for you and appropriate for the situation. Personally, my thing is push-ups, right? If I feel anxious about a topic, I immediately go into my office, I close my office door, and I do 50 push-ups before I even have a chance to process the entire issue that's just been presented to me and why I'm anxious about it. I immediately just revert down like an animal, knock out those push-ups before I have time to even allow myself to get caught up in the issue. I cannot tell you how many times this has literally saved my day, saved a relationship, sportsmanship allowed me to think clearly about a topic, which will allow me to solve that topic quicker or just save time. I don't lose the whole day just being sucked into this anxious hyperloop, right? And trust me, I've been there. This is why I'm talking about this. I've been there a lot. And for me, it's been more of a trial by fire. When you bang your head against a wall enough times, eventually you're going to figure out that's not working and you're going to think about something else. Push-ups is my thing, whatever. You can find your thing, right? That could be walking, that could be going for a drive, that could be whatever. But at the end of the day, try to be physically active to some degree. Just get that heart rate up a little bit, get some fresh air, get some sunshine on your body. Do something that will take you out of your mind and into your body. Because what you will begin to experience is when you come back into your body has the ability to change your mind. You can improve your mood by improving your physical activity. When you become physically active and you have all these positive endorphins and emotions being released, that is going to change your mind. You want to know a life hack, guys? The quickest way to change your mind is to change your physical state. You're in a bad place mentally because you're anxious about something. Get yourself in a good place physically as quickly as possible. Don't be self-conscious too, by the way. I mean, I've dropped down and done 50 push-ups in the middle of a conference room during a medical conference. I don't care. You know why I don't care? Nobody cares the way you think they do. People are so caught up with their own stuff and their own BS. Me dropping down to do 50 push-ups in the middle of a large conference room full of people, it doesn't mean anything to anybody. As a matter of fact, you may encourage a few people, like I have in the past when I've done that, to actually join you or do the same thing, or switch their mindset and say, you know what, that's a good idea. I think I'm going to do that as well. All right. Don't get caught up in what other people think. Don't worry about, oh my God, my push-ups aren't the perfect form. Don't do any of that nonsense. It's all nonsense, guys. Don't trick yourself and self-negotiate to getting out of the work. Just don't do it. Okay. And if you have some sort of, self-consciousness about it, you can always find a hallway. You can always find like a kind of a private area in a public space. You can do what I said. You can close the door of your office and get in there and do something. Go step outside and go for a walk. Nobody needs to know why you're doing what you're doing, but you're doing it for your own mental health, right? So physical activity, guys, get out of your head, get into your body. The quicker you can do that, the quicker you're going to change your own mind, right? The other thing I want to talk to you about when it comes to anxiety is intake. What are you putting in your body? Unfortunately, so many of us in modern medicine have anxiety medications, right? These are like benzodiazepines. These are some sort of sedative hypnotic, typically, certain medications like that. Maybe some of us go to have a drink when we're anxious because it has somewhat of that depressive calming effect, whatever the case may be for you. It's a very, very sad state of affairs that there are so many prescriptions out there for things like anxiety. At the recording of this video, 2023, we have more prescription medications for anxiety than ever before in the state of the world. And the amount of medications prescribed for anxiety has skyrocketed in the last 5 years. Skyrocketed, right? But let me ask you a question. Do you really believe people are less anxious? In your personal day-to-day life, do you really believe that people have become less anxious and are properly monitoring their anxiety and managing their anxiety with these medications? No, of course not. You know that, and I know that. No. These prescription medications are deadly. They're incredibly harmful. These medications, when combined with other types of medications, can literally be lethal. You and I have seen these news stories all over the place about certain celebrities or this or that have basically overdosed with this combination of medications. And the majority of the time, one of those medications falls into the anti-anxiety class, benzodiazepines. It's terrible. So medications are not the answer. But what you put into your body is incredibly important. Stay away from those anti-anxiety medications. Number one, they can be lethal. Number two, their side effects are sometimes worse than the desired effect. Number three, practically speaking, you have an ongoing recurring expense. You have an ongoing hassle. You got to visit your doctor to get the prescription. And you just have an ongoing issue to worry about, especially if you're a father. You don't want those kids to get a hold of those anti-anxiety medications because God forbid, you know what's going to happen then, right? The list goes on and on and on. So, if you should take medications and you're physically active and you're still feeling a little bit of anxiety, what can you do about it? This all comes down to nutrition. what you choose to ingest and how you choose to eat will absolutely play a role in contributing to something that you may believe is anxiety. Sugars. What do sugars do? If you give sugar to a kid, what happens? They go bananas, right? Their energy level spikes. They go absolutely nuts. It's no different than you and me. If you and I are taking in sugar in the form of not just obvious sugars, but carbohydrates, which are converted to sugars, there's sugars kind of hidden in all sorts of things that we may eat. That's why you need to look at these labels. If you look at the sugars that you take in and your energy level goes way up and you're already ruminating and thinking about something, and now you get more stimulated, you're going to focus more on that thing. You're going to accelerate this overthinking anxiety hyperloop, and you're going to drive yourself into just a banana state with lost time, lost energy, lost days, right? You don't want to do that. So be mindful of the sugars that you take in. They will make this problem worse. Continue to stick along the same path that we've always talked about: high protein, moderate carbs, moderate fat, right? And track those macronutrients to make sure you're moving in the direction that you need to move in. Supplements. Are there certain supplements that can help with feelings of anxiety? Absolutely. L-theanine. L-theanine is a great supplement that has a very calming and relaxing effect. It also allows you to focus more clearly. So something like that may allow you to focus specifically in on the problem and minimize all these kind of hyperstimulated, distracting thoughts that you might be having. Magnesium. Magnesium is also very similar to L-theanine in that sense, where it may allow you to have more of a calming effect on your central nervous system, which will simultaneously allow you to focus more on the task at hand. And then finally, guys, sleep is incredibly important when it comes to dealing with anxiety. But if you're anxious, how can you sleep? Let's say you're incorporating physical activity the way we've talked about, you've cleaned up your diet, you're minimizing your sugars, you're minimizing your stimulants like caffeine, yet you lay down in bed and you're still thinking about stuff that you can't control today, right? Journal. Pull out a journal. Write your thoughts out. Get it all out. No matter how stupid you may think it sounds, nobody's going to see it but you. Write it all out. Just get it all out, guys. Freeform it. Don't worry about grammar, punctuation, indenting the paragraph. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just get a pen, get a piece of paper, write it all out. Don't use your computer, don't use your phone, because you're getting blasted with blue light right before bed. We've talked about that. But anyway, write it all out on that journal. Just get it all out, get all these thoughts out, right? You're going to find you'll probably end up writing 2 to 3 to 4 pages when you thought you just had 1 or 2 things on your mind. But now that it's out of your head. And if it's out of your head and it's in your journal next to your bed, you're not going to stress about remembering it tomorrow. You're not going to worry about, I got to remember that thing as soon as I wake up to handle that issue, because you've written it, it's out of your head. You can just allow your mind to relax at that point. Breathing. The essence of our life, the essence of who we are as human beings is breath. We are breathing animals. We need to breathe to be alive. But how many of us really focus on our breath? When you get anxious, what happens to your breathing? It gets short, it gets shallow, it gets rapid, right? It's so important when you get anxious to do the opposite, right? So breath work is incredibly important. One thing I really like to teach my clients, and I personally use quite a bit before a big presentation, or if I'm in a situation like I just described, is box breathing. Now, box breathing is basically 4 seconds in as you inhale, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds, exhale, hold for 4 seconds. 4 seconds in, inhale, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds exhale, 4 seconds hold. Box breathing. It stimulates your vagus nerve, which creates more of a calm state in your body and in your mind, which will allow you to stay focused and stay calm and attack the issue ahead. Guys, anxiety, overdiagnosed in my opinion. Really, it's just a matter of when you find yourself thinking about something you can't control. The number one thing you can do to deal with anxiety when you feel it coming on is take some action. Take action. Action is the antidote to anxiety. What kind of action can you take? In summary, physical activity, which we've discussed, right? All those different types of physical activity tricks that we talked about. Nutrition, clean up your diet immediately. make sure you eliminate and minimize all the things that might contribute to anxiety. Sleep. Get your sleep under control. Use the tips and tricks we've talked about in this episode as well as previous episodes. Breathing. Get your breathing under control. Take action, take that breathing into your hands immediately. All of these are action steps that you can use to minimize your anxiety, maximize your ability to deal with it, and maintain resilience, right? These rituals that we've discussed today for dealing with anxiety will allow you to maintain resilience. What is resilience? It's facing a difficult situation and getting through it. How do you do that? You can do that with the tricks that we talked about when you're encountered with a difficult situation that makes you anxious. Ultimately, when you master these tricks and you're able to quickly revert to these tricks in the face of anxiety, you maintain resilience, pushing through that difficult situation. You become a more powerful man. When you become a more powerful man, you become much more robust. You become the robust version of yourself because you've implemented these routines and these rituals. You're becoming more of a resilient human being day by day. And then you just become a more powerful man. You become more self-confident because you can push yourself greater in anxiety-provoking situations. Now that you have these other skill sets on board, you're naturally going to have other positive effects from working out well, from eating well, from breathing well. And you're going to eliminate toxins that you don't necessarily need, like anti-anxiety medications or overstimulating drinks or foods or whatever the case may be. And your sleep is going to kick ass. You're going to do a much better job sleeping because you know the therapeutic effects involved. Guys, you have the power within you. We have the power within us to treat things like anxiety. It's just a matter of incorporating what we've talked about today. Guys, I hope this was a helpful episode for you. If it was, please like, subscribe, and share. It really means a lot to us as we begin to grow. And don't forget, the best time to start something was yesterday. The second best time is today. Don't look back tomorrow with regret. Take one step today and push yourself to becoming unbreakable. Thanks for watching.